The general is back. And he brought back a pregnant woman. Upon hearing the news, I ran frantically toward the front of the estate, even losing one of my embroidered shoes in the process. The travel-worn general and I locked eyes from a distance. We both had tears in our eyes. Finally, we found the protagonist's mother. I arranged for the woman to stay in the best courtyard in the entire estate. After returning to my room, I started rummaging through cabinets and chests. My personal maid Wansue stood up for me. The general has gone too far. Miss, you used to go through life and death with him. Someone who has been on the battlefield, and now that he's retired to the estate, how long has it been? The general just brought a woman back. And she's pregnant too. Miss, you don't even have any children yet. I turned a deaf ear. I had already dug out a large chest of gold and silver jewelry. Wansue helped me pack it all up. Miss, you're doing the right thing. Let's go home now. I won't take this grievance. Quick, help me send all of this to Miss Sue's place. No time to explain. I took the things and ran to the guest courtyard. When I arrived, Shenlin was ordering the cook to bring dishes into the room one by one. There were delicacies of every kind. I stood next to him, gritting my teeth. You're fast, aren't you? Shenlin looked at the treasure I was holding and gave a fake smile. You're not slow yourself. Shenlin and I are both transmigrators into this book. In the real world, we were childhood sweethearts and bitter rivals. We bickered for over a decade, and even ended up at the same university. Then, on the way home for summer break during our sophomore year, the bus overturned. We both transmigrated into this book. He became the great Yong dynasty's general of the north. I followed him, disguised as a man, as the daughter of the Grand Tutor who went to the battlefield. I had clearly read this book, but the roles didn't match up at all. Took a month to figure it out. This is a prequel, for heaven's sake. The book's protagonist wouldn't be born for another 2 years. The reason Shenlin and I have been friends since childhood without cutting ties is because we are birds of a feather. We're both afraid of dying, so we requested a marriage decree at lightning speed. To avoid being matched with others and to prevent any complications. That wasn't enough. We used our military merits to trade for 2 immunity tokens. Finally, we claimed years of warfare and poor health meant we needed to recuperate. We've been lying low in the general's estate for a year, but this paranoid emperor wouldn't let Shenlin resign. He was likely wary of his influence in the army. But in recent years the court has been in turmoil, and we always felt that with the emperor's suspicious nature, something would go wrong sooner or later, and an immunity token is far from enough. If you're going to cling to someone powerful, make it someone truly powerful. That night, Shenlin and I discussed it all night. We finally hit it off. We decided to find the mother who was carrying the protagonist, who was still wandering in exile. As long as we become the protagonist's godparents, with his heaven-defying golden finger, cheat ability, our future wealth and status would be guaranteed. Shenlin searched outside for 3 whole months. Finally, hard work paid off. Among a group of wealthy people just kidnapped by bandits, he found her. Su Qingwan's unborn child carries the bloodline of the previous dynasty's royalty. When the child grows up, he will possess all the golden fingers that male leads have. Unify the world, overthrow the dynasty, and expand the territory, establish a new world. Of course, Su Qingwan doesn't know this. She has been hiding and suffering outside. Now, seeing our setup, she was so scared she knelt down immediately. Thank you, General's wife, for saving my life. I know the general must have an agenda for bringing me back. The general just said, holy crap, this pregnancy isn't stable yet. I quickly helped her up. I patted her hand kindly. Don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic. There's no agenda. It's just my husband felt a connection the moment he saw you. Su Qingwan, it's fate. I poked Shenlin in the stomach. Shenlin looked nostalgic. That's right, you were wearing red and yellow clothes at the time. It reminded me of the tomato and egg soup at the third cafeteria. Su Qingwan looked terrified. I hurriedly pulled her to the dining table to sit down, saying we know her husband. Based on my knowledge of the prequel, the only remaining impression, I fabricated a dramatic backstory, which finally gained her trust. She agreed to stay in the general's estate to rest and nurture the pregnancy, but Su Qingwan's identity couldn't be openly disclosed. So, in just 3 days, several versions of rumors had already spread outside. When I was buying pastries with Wan Sui at the pastry shop, people around were pointing and whispering. Have you heard? General Shen brought a girl back from outside. Everyone says how loving the general and his wife are. I don't think it's all that. Maybe he dislikes that Miss Su wields swords and spears, lacking in feminine charm. That's why he brought someone else back from outside, right? Women, you know, still have to rely on men. So what if she's the legitimate wife? Without her husband's love and children, life is still hard. TSK pitiful. Wan Sui was furious. Miss, they're standing right in front of us gossiping. But I was only busy grabbing that basket of freshly baked osmanthus cakes. Wrap them up, Miss Su loves them. Wan Sui, miss. I directed him to the other side. My pre-ordered 10 high-quality old hens. Go get them, pregnant women need the most nutrition. After that day, the noble ladies of the capital rumored that I had gone mad. And those men sighed. That a legitimate wife as sensible as me is truly rare. I didn't expect, as it spread. This reached the ears of former comrades, and the current commander of the Imperial Guard, Xiao Che. This Yandra's intentions toward me are not simple. Shenlin's daily social interactions. He hosted a banquet for some officials. I didn't expect to see Xiao Che at the banquet. He held up a wine glass to toast me. A year no see. How have you been? I froze. Shenlin took the wine glass in front of me. He raised an eyebrow in return. My wife is not good with alcohol. I'll do it for her. I have to say, Shenlin is sometimes quite reliable. During the banquet, Xiao Che's intense gaze was completely undisguised. His staring made my skin crawl. I found an excuse to leave. I didn't expect Xiao Che to follow me. He blocked me in the courtyard. He got straight to the point, saying Shenlin brought another woman back, and asked if I would still treat him the same as before. I said, "You idiot, Xiao Che." He moved closer and closer to me. "You can choose me instead. I do like handsome men. And I admit you're handsome too. But you're crazy. Thanks but no thanks." I chuckled twice and walked around him, ready to leave.
Xiao ke su den liznir behind me.
I can prove it to you. I can do anything for you. Today I'll give you a little welcome gift first. Any trouble you can't solve, I'll solve it for you. What trouble could I possibly have? I turned to look. My gaze swept over the attic. I froze instantly. I saw Su Qingwan being grabbed by a man, pressed against the railing. She was protecting her belly and trembling with fear. Holy crap, the protagonist's mother. My wealth and status for the rest of my life. I screamed. What are you doing? Xiao Che curled his lips. What is he worth? He dares to compare himself to you, Su Qing'an? I'll get rid of him for you today. After saying that, he waved his hand. Seeing that the man was about to push Su Qingwan off, I hurriedly shouted, Shenlin. Shenlin came out and saw, obviously realizing something was wrong. But at such a distance, even if he used his Lightfoot Kung Fu, it would be hard to catch her directly. He needed leverage. I didn't have time to think. I took a step forward. I knelt on one knee, back facing the sky. Go. Shenlin didn't even think. He stepped on my back, leaped up, and caught Su Qingwan, who was falling in midair. Xiao Che was stunned. The guests who came out to watch the excitement were petrified. Miss. Wan Sui rushed over in a panic to help me up. What kind of general's wife acts as a stepping stone for others? Next time. I stood up amidst the astonished gazes of the crowd, calmly brushing the footprints off my clothes. Next time you come, Wan Sui. Next time, remember to put down a mat. Oh my, look how dirty the clothes are. On the other side, Shenlin landed steadily with Su Qingwan, like a scene from an idol drama. He handed Su Qingwan to me. Then he flew up again to go after the villain on the attic. Unexpectedly, a flying dagger was faster than him. It grazed Shenlin's ear and went straight into that man. My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately turned back to glare at Xiao Che. He looked back at me innocently. He clapped his hands, saying, That villain, How dare you commit murder in broad daylight at the general's residence? I was afraid he would hurt General Shun, so I had to kill him with one strike. Forget about the madam looking down on me. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm gritting my teeth, but thanks a lot to your whole family. It's been a year, and Xiaoche is just as his name suggests, getting crazier by the day. Back when we were in the military camp together, he was always exceptionally different toward me. I once saw him secretly hoarding my handkerchief, taking it out at night to press against his face and gasp for air. That scared the living daylights out of me. From then on, I stayed as far away from him as possible. After returning to the capital, I quickly became a wife in name only to Shen Lin. On the day of our wedding, Xiaoche rode his horse and followed my sedan the entire way. He lifted the sedan curtain, his knuckles turning white as he gripped the frame, muttering over and over, "Just a little bit more. Just a little bit." I only found out later that, the moment we requested the marriage decree, he rushed to the palace to ask for my hand. Holy crap, good thing I was fast. After the wedding, we laid low while Shen Lin went out to earn military merit for a year. Now that he's back in the capital, he's been made commander of the Imperial Guard. After sending everyone away, I was in the room applying medicine for Shen Lin. His face had been grazed by a flying blade. I could tell with my eyes closed that Xiaoche did it on purpose. Wansue suddenly knocked on the door. General's wife, Miss Su, is outside in the courtyard with lotus root soup, saying she wants to bring it in. I was about to tell her to come in, but Shen Lin stopped me. I didn't understand why Shen Lin had such a complicated expression. Have you ever read a novel? I played the hero today in public to save Su Qingguan. Now she's here in the middle of the night to deliver soup. Can't you guess what's on her mind? I said firmly, she wants to be your apprentice. Is she brainless or what? Shen Lin pinched my face. She's taken a liking to me. Shen Lin gave me a look of utter exasperation, cleared his throat, and had Wansue bring Su Qingguan in. Su Qingguan walked in carrying a food box, offered a salute, and after the salute, placed the box on the table. Shen Lin looked very grave. Misu, I'll be blunt. I saved you only because I have some friendship with your husband. Now that your husband is missing, I'm just taking care of you on his behalf. Your feelings, I'm afraid I cannot accept. Su Qingguan froze for a few seconds, then suddenly bent over and started dry heaving. I was so scared I jumped up to pat her back. What's going on? Is her morning sickness that bad? Su Qingguan isn't having morning sickness. She's just disgusted by the general. He laughed awkwardly to save face. I was just joking, and quickly changed the subject. Going to serve the lotus root soup. This soup looks good. Su Qingguan took the soup out first, handed him a small bowl, and gave the rest of the large pot to me. Madam, you are of noble status, and you risked your life to save me today. Qingguan will remember this kindness. When my child is born, I will make sure they know of this grace as well. My eyes welled up with tears. I felt like doing a backflip, kneeling down to kowtow to Su Qingguan. Who would have thought? The chosen one is actually me. Glancing at Shen Lin's dark expression, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Holding Su Qingguan's hand, and saying with genuine emotion, "With those words from you, I can rest easy."
Su Qingguan frowned slightly.
My identity is unknown, and I will only bring you trouble. Let me just do odd jobs around the manor from now on, and just say I was bought as a servant. How can that be? You're still pregnant. If you don't mind, I have an idea. The next day we made a big show of going out on the street, extravagantly booking the largest restaurant in the capital. Sure enough, this move immediately attracted everyone's attention. I took Su Qingguan's arm as we stepped out of the carriage. The restaurant owner came out to greet us personally. "Madam Shun, it's been a long time." He then sized me up and looked at the elegantly dressed Su Qingguan with the slightly protruding belly. This lady looks very unfamiliar. Whose wife is she? The noblewomen watching the spectacle covered their mouths and giggled. This Su Qingguan really is a strange one, treating a mistress like a sister. Look, the girl is even pregnant. Could it be General Shun's eldest son? Su Qingyuan doesn't even feel ashamed. Su Qingwan tugged on my sleeve. I patted her hand to comfort her. Then said loudly, "What? Whose wife?" "She's from the Shun family, of course." The restaurant owner looked at Shun Lin and hurriedly offered his congratulations. "General Shun is about to have a son." Shun Lin reached out his hand. You're congratulating the wrong person." The owner stood there, stunned. Shun Lin and I each supported Su Qingwan on one side as we walked inside. "Be careful, concubine. Is the little brother in your belly kicking you again?" "Shun Lin, my father is having a child in his old age. We have to be careful." "Owner, take our order." Within 3 days, the news that General Shun had taken a new wife at the border and sent her back to the capital to carry the child spread throughout the city. That night, Shun Lin squatted under the veranda, looking at the letter sent by express courier from the border. Lost in thought, I squatted down next to him. "What did your dad say?" "He said there's a box of gold under our pear tree." "Oh wow." Shun Lin wiped his face. "He told me to dig it up and buy myself a decent coffin." I had nothing to say. I patted his back. "Be strong. Once the heaven-defying protagonist is born safely, we'll have made it through. If you're suffering, just let it out. I'm going to check if Su Qingwan has her blanket tucked in." We waited and waited. Finally waiting for Su Qingwan's time, a week before the birth. We took care of her with the utmost caution, but we never expected that Su Qingwan would overeat in the morning, and by the afternoon, she was in unbearable abdominal pain. After the doctor examined her, he frowned and said, "This is a case of gluttony poisoning." "What kind of poison?" "Gluttony poisoning. The toxins produced after eating too much." Shun Lin expressionlessly picked up the sword nearby. The doctor trembled. "General, what are you doing?" "Shun Lin, I have a case of killing poison. The toxins produced when I want to kill someone." "Doctor." Shun Lin rolled up his sleeves and charged. "Then the gluttony poison makes sense." "Listen to yourself. Is this ridiculous?" "I'm so..." Quickly stopped him. After sending the doctor away, I took a few deep breaths and said, "There was originally a plot point where the protagonist is poisoned in the womb, requiring precious herbs like thousand-year ginseng and fleeceflower root to treat, making him immune to all poisons after birth. But who would have thought that because Su Qingwan was protected so well by us, she had no chance to be poisoned, so the system set up this outrageous gluttony poison for us. Most of the herbs mentioned in the book can be bought at any pharmacy, except for that thousand-year ginseng. The oldest one in the pharmacy is only 100 years old. As far as I know, there is only 1,000-year ginseng in the entire capital. When Xiaoqie returned to the capital, the emperor bestowed it upon him. Oh no, we're doomed. Shun Lin and I sat in the courtyard sighing and lamenting. After a while I spoke up. "Should I try to use my charms?" "No." Shun Lin blurted it out. I looked at him, and he awkwardly looked away. Even without sucking up to him, our family can still hold on for a few years. Do you really need to use your charms? This morning, several officials in court were complaining that you're a freeloader. It looks like they're about to come after you. Are you sure we can hold on for a few years? Besides, this child is the protagonist. If he doesn't survive, will this world even exist? Shun Lin didn't speak. After a while, he looked at me with a mischievous glint in his eyes. Remember in our sophomore year, when we snuck into the office to steal our phones? I'll never forget that even if I die. In our sophomore year, the school strictly forbade students from bringing phones to school. Shun Lin and I both got caught. But that day was New Year's Eve, and we had promised some close friends to sneak out and play. So I faked a fainting spell in the classroom, luring all the teachers to the office, letting Shun Lin steal the phones back from the office. We did manage to steal the phones, but to make the fainting spell look real, when they helped me up, I went completely limp and fell backward. Head smashed into the ground, really passed out. That day, Shun Lin carried me on his back and sprinted to the infirmary. I was lying in the bed next to his because of a muscle strain. I looked at Shun Lin suspiciously. You aren't thinking of Shun Lin, are you? If we can't snatch it back, we'll just steal it back. The next day, we sent a visiting card to Xiaoche's mansion. To our surprise, he replied welcoming me to visit. Shenlin was so angry he gritted his teeth, so we had to change our strategy. I would keep Xiaoche occupied in the front hall, while he snuck into the backyard to search his treasury. That day, I wrapped myself in 3 layers of clothing. Xiaoche stood in the pavilion looking me over. I hurriedly said, "I'm sick. My cold symptoms are quite severe. Xiaoche, aren't you hot?" I wiped the sweat from my forehead. Not hot, look. I'm even breaking out in cold sweat. Seeing that I was having trouble moving, Xiaoche started to come over to help me. I quickly took a step back to dodge him. "This illness is contagious. You'd better be careful."
Xiaoche suddenly laughed,
looking at me with a playful expression. "You're so cute. I really can't hold back anymore." Shenli. Damn it, hurry up. I can't hold out much longer. After drinking 2 cups of tea, I really couldn't stand Xiaoche's gaze anymore. I made an excuse to use the restroom and snuck into the backyard. I happened to run into Shenlin on the rafters. He was frowning deeply.
"I've searched everywhere."
"It's not here." I suspected the ginseng was hidden in Xiaoche's bedroom, but the door was locked. The key should be on him. But how to get the key from Xiaoche without letting him return to his room? That was the problem. I thought for a moment and looked at Shenlin. "Did you bring the medicine?" Shenlin showed me the medicine. "I've sprinkled it all over my handkerchief." He couldn't help but frown.
"You're underestimating Xiaoche."
With his level of vigilance, if you act so strangely and try to get close to him, he'll definitely get suspicious. I snapped, "You're underestimating me." I tucked the handkerchief, evenly coated with sleeping powder, into my pocket and returned to the pavilion. After seeing Xiaoche, I feigned distress and sighed several times. "Lord Xiao, I know that the recent memorials impeaching Shenlin at court were all instigated by you. Please show some mercy."
Xiaoche laughed.
"I knew it. You came to my mansion to plead for Shenlin, wanting me to stop causing him trouble. That's easy to arrange." He stood up and walked behind me, leaned down and whispered in my ear, "You know what I want most." I stumbled away, glaring at him. "Please have some self-respect." "Fine, if you want to impeach him, go ahead. Suit yourself." I flicked my sleeve and strode out of the pavilion. But what I accidentally dropped on the ground was my personal handkerchief. I glanced back from the corner of my eye and saw Xiaoche pick up the handkerchief. After rubbing it a few times, he greedily buried his face in it and took a sniff, and then immediately passed out. Shenlin, hiding in the shadows, was dumbfounded. I turned back,
kicked Xiaoche,
and gloated, "You don't understand perverts." Shenlin's expression was complex. "You're right. I really don't understand you." Shenlin found the 1,000-year-old ginseng in Xiaoche's bedroom. After taking it back for Su Qingwan to use as medicine, she immediately started to recover. 3 days later, Shenlin and I were waiting anxiously outside the delivery room. Suddenly, the winds and clouds shifted. Hundreds of magpies circled above the general's mansion. With a loud cry from the baby, the originally gloomy sky revealed rays of colorful light, blinding our eyes. Damn, I'm good. He really is the male lead. Even his birth is so dramatic. Shenlin rubbed his hands together. "Godson, your godfather is here." I pushed him aside. Just as Shenlin and I were fighting over who would hold the baby, Xiaoche kicked open the gates of the general's mansion, sword in hand. His eyes were red, and he walked toward Shenlin with a murderous aura. "You entered my room." None of the guards in the mansion dared to step forward. Shenlin held the baby and frowned. "What kind of nonsense are you spouting? Xiaoche, you took my things." Shenlin was completely unfazed. "That's right, I took the ginseng."
Xiaoche roared.
"Not that. What else did Shenlin take besides the ginseng?" Seeing Xiaoche's reaction, this item must be much more valuable than the ginseng. I glanced at Shenlin, and he avoided my gaze. Before I could even react, Xiaoche suddenly charged at Shenlin with his sword. My eyes widened immediately. With a ding sound, the sword snapped in two. Xiaoqie was stunned. He pulled a poison needle from his waist and threw it at Shenlin. Suddenly, a few birds flew down from the sky and blocked every single poison needle. Xiaoqie wouldn't give up. He charged forward with his bare hands. After just one step, he accidentally stepped on a round pebble, hit his head on the ground and passed out. Shenlin and I exchanged a look. Shenlin was very confused. What's going on? I was stunned for a moment, then suddenly realized, and couldn't help but laugh out loud. This is the male lead Halo. The male lead Halo. After the servants from Xiaoqie's mansion carried him away, I cornered Shenlin in the room with a stick. Confess. What good stuff did you swipe from Xiaoqie's room? Split it 50-50. Shenlin, expressionless, walked to the cabinet and took out a piece of blood-stained clothing fragment from a box. This guy left the 1,000-year-old ginseng lying around on the cabinet, but hid this piece of fabric in a secret compartment under his bed. I looked closely. This fabric, isn't it the clothes I was wearing on my first day of transmigrating into the book? That day, I appeared directly on the battlefield, scared to death by the sight of corpses everywhere. I finally found Xiaoqie, who was still breathing, and hurriedly tore off a piece of my clothing to bandage him. Holy crap. After that, he became very perverted toward me. This is the source of all evil. Shenlin's expression was cold.
Xiaoqie is a psychopath.
Do you know what I saw in his backyard? I felt a chill run down my spine. What? Corpses. The dungeon was full of corpses. They were all young women. They all had one thing in common. Shenlin looked at me. They looked a bit like you. At that moment, I only had one thought in my mind. Male lead, please grow up quickly. Your godmother is a coward who values her life, and she really needs your protection. And so we began our long journey of raising a child. I soon forgot about Xiaoqie, because Hchen's male lead Halo was just too useful. Yes, Hchen. The male lead of this book, Murong-chun. Very cool, very male lead style. How useful was this Halo? I'd take him to the casino, and I'd win every single hand. Shenlin would take him for a stroll at the bottom of a cliff, and every time he'd find a martial arts manual, Wansue would take him to play on the mountain. And 9 times out of 10, she'd find rare medicinal herbs. Just like that, it was as if we had found a bug in the world. Life was going along quite happily. By the time Hchen could talk, Sukingwan Samho got news of her husband and wanted to take Hchen to find him. This day had finally come. The first tragic point of the book. On the way to find her husband,
Sukingwan dies protecting Hchen.
Hchen is taken away by his father and becomes a regional lord. The night before Su Qingwan's departure, Shenlin and I sat in the room for a long time. Neither of us spoke until we heard outside Wansue whispering with another maid. It's so late and the lights are still on. Hehe, the general ate deer antler tonight, it's different. It's my fault I've spoiled Wansue. I awkwardly rubbed my nose. Let's go. What do you mean? Shenlin said in a muffled voice. You're asking me? Haven't you already started packing your luggage? I didn't back down. If you weren't planning on coming along, why were you counting silver? Shenlin, I just feel like we've been home buddies for too long. Going out for a stroll isn't a bad idea. The grass is growing and the orioles are flying outside now. It'd be nice to see the scenery. Quickly agreed. And if we save Sister Su, our kindness to Hchen will be greater than the heavens. I could just be a couch potato for the rest of my life. We were both looking for a way out. But we both knew the truth. Having lived in this world for so long, watching Hchen grow from birth to babbling, learning to call us godparents, and with Su Qingwan busy taking care of our home, we could no longer just be bystanders. After setting off with Su Qingwan, we searched outside for half a month, but found no trace, seeing conflicts erupting everywhere. With wars breaking out all around, we decided to return to the capital to rethink our plans. As the carriage reached the mountain road, Su Qingwan and I were playing with the child inside. Suddenly there was a jolt, and Shenlin's serious voice came from outside. Something's wrong here. I lifted the carriage curtain, only to see the mountain road was empty, and everything around was deathly silent. Hold on tight, Shenlin shouted, suddenly cracking the whip to speed forward. A dozen assassins appeared behind us, chasing us relentlessly. What should we do? This was the first time I truly faced a life-or-death situation. After putting some distance between us and them, Shenlin slowed down and said coldly, "Now, jump out of the carriage. Hide in the grass over there. And don't make a sound." I reached out and grabbed his clothes tightly. "What about you?" Shenlin looked back at me deeply. "I'll lead them away." He gripped my wrist tightly, then pushed me away firmly. "Go." There was no time to talk. I held Chen and jumped out with Su Qingwan. Everything spun around, and we hid in the dense grass by the road. I have to say, he really is the male lead. After all that tossing and turning, he didn't even cry once. Watching the carriage get further and further away, with the assassins hot on its heels, my heart was in my throat. Su Qingwan patted my hand, comforting me. "Don't worry. The general will be fine." I was already crying by then. He only knows how to play basketball and video games, and make me angry. He doesn't know how to do anything else. Why is he acting like a hero with his mediocre martial arts? Su Qingwan didn't understand what I was saying, so she just held my hand tightly. I don't know how much time passed, but there was no more movement around us. I hurried in the direction the carriage had gone. In a patch of woods, there were bloodstains everywhere, and the assassins' bodies were scattered about. Shenlin was leaning against a tree, his eyes closed, covered in blood. I couldn't tell if it was his or someone else's. I knelt in front of him, my hands trembling, not daring to touch him. Tears were already streaming down my face. I started wailing regardless of anything else. "If you die, what am I supposed to do? You know I'm terrified of being alone. Ever since we were kids, you've walked me home from school every day. I really can't handle being alone. If you're gone, I'm going with you." I reached for the sword in Shenlin's hand, but couldn't pull it out. He opened his eyes, managing a weak smile. "I'm not dead yet." I started crying even harder. He raised his hand to wipe away my tears, then pinched my cheek. "You silly girl. I'm very strong." Shenlin smiled. "Why else would I practice martial arts? Isn't it to protect you?" He patted the ground beside him. "You don't have to be afraid anymore." Only then did I notice there was another body lying next to him. I leaned in to look. It was Xiaoche. Good grief, the male lead's father finally showed up. I looked at the bandaged Shenlin and sighed. "No wonder Sister Su doesn't fancy you. Look at her husband, he's taller and more handsome than you." "Shenlin, watch your mouth. You're a married woman." I scoffed. "It's just a marriage in name only." Shenlin blurted out. "Could be real too." I turned to look at him instinctively. Shenlin seemed to have realized what he said, and after a moment, he awkwardly looked away. "I'm just kidding." After the male lead's parents finished their reunion, they walked over to us together. Yuan stood there,
Exuding en imposing aura.
Su Qingwan said happily, "Oh husband, you and your brother haven't seen each other in a long time, right?" "Oh no, I was just making things up back then. We barely know her husband. How am I supposed to cover for this?" I twitched my lips. "It's like that saying, why must we have met before to feel like old friends?" Yuan laughed heartily and slapped Shenlin hard on the back. "From now on, you're my own brother. Now that the Dog Emperor knows that our branch of the royal bloodline is still alive, he started a purge. You probably can't go back to the general's mansion. If you trust me, come with me." I could tell from Shenlin's expression that the slap had given him internal injuries. We returned to Yuan's territory with them. Chen became the young master, busy being taken around by his father to see the world. But things between Shenlin and me became strange. Sometimes when we were alone, It would even get awkward. One day, while I was chatting with Su Qingwan, she said, "Actually, for the past 2 years, I could tell you were only a couple in name. But since you both like each other, why not try to take the next step?" I fell silent. After a decade of friendship, taking the next step didn't seem that easy. Shenlin's wounds healed quickly. When he was bored, he would go to the training grounds with Murong Yuan. I was even more bored, so I hung around the study reading picture books. One day, as I was flipping through them, a book suddenly fell from the sky, landing right on my head. I was stunned because the book was titled The Path of Reversal, which is the book we transmigrated into. If I have the future plot, wouldn't I be invincible? I opened it with excitement, only to find there was very little content. It was updated to when Aichin was 4 years old, which is the current timeline. The last sentence read, "The death of Murong Chen's godmother, Su Qingyuan, planted a seed of hatred in him. He vowed to become the strongest person in the world, so he could protect those he loved." It felt like a lightning bolt exploded in my brain. The book fell to the ground. I'm going to die? Then what's the point of playing this game? Without a second thought, I rushed out, grabbed Aichin who was playing in the yard, and told him sternly, "From now on, I'm not your godmother. I'm your sister." Then I opened the book again, and it had changed to The Death of Murong Chen's sister, Su Qingyuan. I immediately closed it. I just said it wrong. "I'm your aunt." I opened it again. The Death of Murong Chen's aunt, Su Qingyuan. I slammed the book onto the ground. "I'm your grandpa." The book lying on the floor happened to land on that page. The Death of Murong Chen's grandpa, Su Qingyuan. I'm tired, just destroy everything. I must have been standing there in a daze for a long time. I looked down at him and managed to force a smile. One day, godmother can't be by your side anymore. Would Aichin be sad? The child nodded. Yes, but godfather would definitely be the saddest. I was stunned, Aichin said in his baby voice, because godfather loves godmother the most. I asked why. Aichin started counting on his fingers. Godfather said he must take good care of godmother in the future. I burst into laughter, but ended up crying while laughing. Since I'm going to die anyway, what am I afraid of? I've been single for so many years, never even had a real boyfriend. I'd be the laughingstock of all the other ghosts if I died like this, right? When Shenlin came back that night, I was drinking in the yard. He ran in excitedly and stood in front of me, bragging, "Look, is there anything different about me?" I looked up at him. He still had sweat on his forehead. His eyes were shining, looking like a total goofball, so I shook my head with a smile. Shenlin rolled up his sleeves, showing off his physique. I've been training at the grounds with Brother Murong for so long. The results aren't bad, right? I asked. Why did you suddenly start working out? Shenlin shot me an annoyed look. Isn't it because someone said I wasn't as imposing as Brother Murong? How about it? Do I look imposing now? Not imposing. Just silly. Shenlin hung his head and ignored me. I walked toward him, smelling of alcohol. Shenlin deliberately held Shenlin and turned his head away. Let me tell you, I'm really angry. It's going to be hard for you to coax me back, I said solemnly back in my freshman year. A boy confessed his feelings to me, and you ended up beating him up. Shenlin got anxious. That jerk was no good. I mean, you ruined one of my boyfriends, so you have to compensate me with one. In the following days, I was inseparable from Shenlin, sticking together almost every day. When the weather was nice, we went boating on the lake. When the weather was bad, we would cuddle under the veranda and watch the rain. Every day we'd go into town to find some fresh delicacies. Occasionally we'd cook together, turning the kitchen into a complete mess. I would often stare at Shenlin in a daze, thinking how wonderful it would be if these days never ended. It's a pity I had already owed my own ending. After living like this for a while, I started to feel unwilling to accept it. Why should I be the one sacrificed? So after a few sleepless nights, I prepared to confess to Shinlin. Maybe if we put our heads together, we could find a solution. One afternoon, after Shinlin had eaten, he was sunbathing in the courtyard. I took out that book, The Record of Defying Fate. Take a look at this. Shinlin glanced at it, and his face turned bright red. Didn't we just look at the picture book yesterday? Is this? Damn it, isn't this an erotic manual? Shinlin sat up, looking completely confused. What is it then? This? The book we are living in. I took a deep breath and said, I have something I've been hiding from you. Turn to page 89. Shinlin opened the book, not knowing what to expect, and then fell into deep thought as he read the contents. Seeing him like this, I couldn't help but tear up. What should I do? Shinlin frowned and looked at me. Who is this Shen Yinyan? I snatched the book back and saw it clearly written there. The moment he saw Shen Yinyan, Murong-chan knew she would be the love of his life. He swore to become the strongest person in the world so that he could protect the one he loved. Who is Shen Yinyan? I was completely confused. Before this, it said it was my death. That made Achin swear to become the strongest in the world. Does that mean I don't have to die? I don't have to die. Just as I finished speaking, Achin came running back from outside the courtyard with a candied hawthorn. I couldn't help but hug him and kiss him several times. Achin wiped the saliva off his face and then looked at me very strangely. I felt a bit panicked. Huh. Achin touched my stomach and said with a grin, Little Nyenyen. Little Nyenyen. Achin circled around me. Godmother has little Nyenyen in her tummy. I'm going to have a little sister to play with me. I subconsciously looked back at Shinlin. He stood there stunned as if struck by lightning. After a few seconds, I slowly realized I might be about to become the male lead's mother-in-law. Oh, exciting. Shinlin was angry because I had known I was going to die, but had kept it from him for so long. He was furious, sitting sullenly on the edge of the bed every day, full of grievances. Every night I have nightmares about you, saying you're going to die. Suqing, you are so heartless. If the plot hadn't changed, were you planning on leaving me a widower? I sat next to him, poking him with my finger. But I was planning to tell you, wasn't I? Shinlin snorted. I figured he probably needed some time alone, so I crawled back under the covers to sleep by myself. A while later, a hot body pressed against me. Shinlin wrapped his arms around me, burying his face in my back. First, I didn't know what he was doing, until I felt my back getting wet. He was crying. He was actually crying. Good heavens. Who is Shinlin? He's the guy who never cried even when he broke his bones in a fight. I was at a loss for what to do. Shinlin muttered behind my back, Don't ever let there be a second time. I obediently promised. Okay. He held me and snorted again. I don't think Murong-chan is good enough for our Nyenyen. You really know how to change the subject quickly. But Shinlin was emotionally sensitive right now, so I went along with him. He's the male lead after all. What kind of son-in-law are you looking for? The male lead is the most dangerous one. Male leads always encounter a lot of romantic entanglements. That's true, I said casually, but I believe our Nyenyen will definitely be the most outstanding one. She will be smart, beautiful, and strong. Shinlin suddenly propped himself up, looking at me with burning eyes in the dark. How strong? That night my roar echoed throughout the entire courtyard. Shinlin, you damn beast. I'm pregnant. When Murong-chan was 15, he brought Shen Yinyan back to the territory for the first time. At that time, Su Qingyun was lying on the chaise long under the veranda, cracking melon seeds and directing Shenlin to water the flowers. Wan Sui was fanning her from the side, living a life more comfortable than an immortal. Hearing footsteps, Su Qingyun lifted her eyes and saw her daughter with two little buns in her hair, tugging at Murong-chan's sleeve. Shyly, hiding behind him, her features even had a hint of what she looked like when she was young. Remembering how Achin had said in his milky voice, "Godmother, there's a little Nyenyen in your tummy," Su Qingyun still couldn't help but laugh. Who would have thought that not only did he not die, but he really became the male lead's mother-in-law? Shinlin was even more nitpicky about Murong-chan every day. Looking just like a protective mother hen. Ever since little Nianyan was born, Su Qingyuan and Shinlin had completely given up, shifting their goal of hugging the thigh, relying on someone powerful, from Murong-chan to their own daughter. Shinlin specifically hired the best teachers in the world to teach Nianyan how to read and practice martial arts. Su Qingyuan, on the other hand, made all kinds of snacks for her every day, spoiling Nianyan like a little ancestor. Time flew by, and Murong-chan reached the age to unify the world. The night before he set off, he specifically came to bid farewell to Su Qingyuan and Shinlin. Shinlin patted his shoulder, unusually serious. Go out and make your mark. Take care of yourself. And even more importantly, take care of Nianyan. If you dare to let her suffer even the slightest grievance, even if I have to use a cane, I'll beat you until you're looking for your teeth on the floor. Su Qingyuan stuffed a silk pouch into his hand, containing the gold and jewelry she had saved over the years, as well as a few replicas of the death immunity tokens. The two original ones from back then had long been kept as treasures by her and Shinlin. Don't push yourself too hard out there. Su Qingyuan's eyes were slightly red. No matter if you win or lose, remember to come back. This will always be your home. Murong-chan bowed, his voice firm. Godfather, godmother, don't worry. I will definitely pacify the chaotic world and give Nianyan a stable world, and give you a peaceful and prosperous era as well. After Murong-chan set off on his campaign, Su Qingyuan and Shinlin didn't stay idle either. They took Nianyan and opened a pastry shop in the territory, specializing in Su Qingyuan's signature osmanthus cakes and lotus root soup. It was strange to say, but thanks to Nianyan's little female lead Halo, the pastry shop was full every day, with some people even traveling thousands of miles to visit. Shinlin guarded the shop every day to count the money, his mouth almost reaching his ears with a grin, yet he would still mutter, "It's just average. It's all thanks to my daughter's luck." Occasionally they would also think of Xiaoqie. I heard that after being tricked by the male lead's Halo that one time, Xiaoqie resigned from his position as commander of the Imperial Guard, and lived in seclusion deep in the mountains, never appearing again. Every time Su Qingyuan thought of him, she couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It's a good thing I didn't get involved with him back then. Otherwise it would be a real problem now. Shinlin scoffed. He's a madman, he doesn't deserve you. I'm the only one who doesn't mind your flaws. You're such a coward and a glutton. A year later, Murong-chan pacified the chaos, ascended the throne as emperor, and took Nianyan as his empress. On the day of the grand wedding, the whole city turned out to celebrate. Su Qingyuan, dressed in her phoenix coronet and robes, held Shinlin's hand and handed Nianyan over to Murong-chan. After the wedding, Murong-chan and Nianyan often returned to the territory to visit them. Nianyan would always pester Su Qingyuan to teach her how to make osmanthus cakes. Murong-chan would accompany Shinlin to play chess and drink, listening to him brag about his past military achievements. Sometimes, Su Qingyuan would take out items from the time they first transmigrated into the book, telling them stories about her and Shinlin in the real world, talking about how they went to school and got into trouble together, and the panic when the bus overturned. I never imagined that an accident would lead us to settle down here. Su Qingyuan leaned into Shinlin's arms, watching the children playing in the courtyard, and sighed with emotion. Shinlin held her tighter, resting his chin on the top of her head. Indeed, we used to just think about surviving and trying to cling to powerful people. Who would have thought that in the end, we'd not only have a daughter, but also such a wonderful life. Wan Sui had also long since married and had children, often bringing them to visit. She would always bring up the funny story of how Su Qingyuan snatched osmanthus cakes and made her grab a hen. The pear tree in the courtyard grew more and more lush, bearing sweet pears every autumn. Shinlin would always pick them and make pear soup for Su Qingyuan. A few more years passed. Su Qingyuan and Shinlin gradually grew old, but remained as loving as they were at the beginning. They no longer concerned themselves with court affairs, just planting flowers and keeping birds in their territory, occasionally offering advice to Murong-chan and Nianyan. As the sun set, the golden afterglow spilled into the courtyard, reflecting their clasped hands. From being rivals in the real world to becoming partners in survival after transmigrating, and finally lovers for a lifetime. They walked through the displacement and uncertainty, and harvested a heart full of joy. Turns out that no matter which world you are in, as long as the person by your side is the right one, even if you've transmigrated into a book, you can live out your own fulfillment. And those past schemes and timid little thoughts eventually turned into the gentlest warmth of daily life, lingering through every day and night to come.